Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. This is Dr. Stephanie, your double board certified critical care physician who works with physicians that are struggling with their jobs, burnt out with their careers, or who just want some career advice. Through my books, webinars, coaching, and speaking, I help physicians discover alternative jobs and careers in medicine so that they can practice medicine on their own terms. Welcome to this Tuesday's edition of Let's Talk Tuesday, sponsored by Floyd Lee Locums. And tonight we're going to talk about a topic that always comes up when talking to people about locums work and locums company, and that is finding locums work, whether you should use a locums company or whether you should do it yourself. Now, like some of you, I was told when I first started doing locums to avoid using locums companies because, I was told that the locums company acts as a middleman, and then if you avoid using them and you work directly with a facility, that you can kind of cut out the middleman, so to speak, and you can get paid more money. Well, I have had the opportunities, as you know. Hi, Dr. Hey, Tamisha, how are you? Thanks for joining. I have had the opportunity to work both with locums companies as well as work directly with clients. And I can tell you that there's a couple of things that I have learned that you need to look out for should you choose to work directly with clients. But before we get started with this, I have some favors to ask you guys. So if you are joining me live, just let me know that you are. Let me know where you're watching me from. If you are joining me on replay, type replay. If you like my comment, press like. If you love it, press the heart button. And if you know somebody that could benefit, hey, Natasha, how are you? If you know somebody who can benefit from this, please feel free to share this post. So like I said, this is Let's Talk Tuesday, sponsored by Floyd Lee Locums, and we are talking about, finding locums work, whether or not you should use a locums company or whether you should do it yourself. Now, like I said, a lot of people have the notion that if you don't use a locums company, you're cutting out the middleman and things will be easier and you'll make more money and things will go so much smoother. I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily the case, because I have worked with locums companies throughout the course of my 10-year career, live in Charleston, South Carolina. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I am home in Houston, Texas. I'm excited to be home because I was in West Virginia for a locums assignment for a while. So, and I do love going to West Virginia for my locums work, but it's always great to be home. But like I said, a lot of people, have opinions about locums companies and locums recruiters and whether or not you should avoid them or not. But like I say, for the last 10 or so years, I've been doing locums, and more often than not, I've used a locums company. I have had the opportunity to do some direct locums work with facilities on my own. And I can tell you that it wasn't a great experience. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that you do have to look out for. So there are 4 things to consider when working directly with a facility. The first thing to consider is the pay rate and the pay schedule. See, there is a myth that you will get paid more money as a locums doctor if you work directly with the facility. And I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily the case. Facilities and organizations have a set amount of money that they're going to pay their doctors. And that's one thing. Now, the locums rate, the fee that the locums company charges is another thing. But when I've worked directly with facilities without the help of a locums company, I didn't necessarily make more money. So it is a misconception that if you go directly to a facility and negotiate directly with the facility to be a locums doctor directly with that facility, it is a myth that you will automatically make more money, because that's not necessarily the case. The other thing is you have to consider is their pay schedule and how you're going to get paid. Most locums companies pay weekly or bi-weekly, and they pay you via direct deposit. But I can tell you the 3 facilities that I have contracted with directly without using a locums company paid monthly, and they paid in paper checks. And if you or anybody who travels like I do, getting paid in a paper check really holds up your money, because depending on where the facility is, it can take 2 to 4 days for you to get your check in the mail. Then you're taking this check, which is a substantial amount, to your bank, and your bank may or may not have ever seen you, because most of us do banking online. So you're going up to the bank teller or going to the drive-through with this large check, and they're looking at you like you're crazy, and they're like, we're going to have to hold this check for 5 days to make sure these funds clear. So at this point in the game, it's already taking you like a month and 5 days to get this paper check. And then your bank is sitting up here telling you that they're going to hold this check because, they're going to have to wait for this check to clear. So the couple of times that that's happened to me, I've nearly had a conniption. And, but that stuff doesn't happen to you when you're working with the locums company, because the locums company is going to pay you weekly or biweekly, and they're going to send that money to your account. And then a couple of times that I've worked directly with organizations without going through a locums company, sometimes I got my money wrong because the person that's responsible for your payroll may or may not be used to working with locums doctors. And so there's a whole host of things that you need to consider. And I've just kind of found that it's just easier to work with a locums company because they have payroll departments that are just used to working with locums doctors, and you get your money weekly or bi-weekly direct deposit, no paper checks in the mail that take 5 days to come, and then your bank teller's looking at you like you're crazy and saying that they're going to have to hold that check for 5 days. I have had those experiences. So you do have to consider the pay rate, the pay schedule, how you're going to get paid. And I will tell you that you don't necessarily get paid more when you work as a direct hire because they have a set rate that they're going to pay you. And the payment process may be a little more inconvenient. The second thing that you have to consider when you are working with a facility directly without using a locums company is malpractice insurance. You have to inquire about that. Now, a lot of places will add you to their malpractice insurance policy, but you need to get that in writing. But some places won't. Some places will require that you have your own malpractice insurance, and as we all know, that can be quite costly. However, all locums companies, if you go through a locums company, will provide malpractice coverage. So that's something to consider as well. So not only do you have to consider the pay rate and the pay schedule, but you also have to consider malpractice coverage and who's going to provide it. And like I said, when you're going through a locums company, they always provide malpractice insurance. When you are directly contracting with a facility without the aid of a locums company, they may or may not provide your malpractice coverage. Now, this next thing is huge. It's licensing and credentialing, getting your medical license, getting your hospital privileges, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Dr. Neela, how are you? Thanks for joining. When you're working directly with a organization or with another doctor without using a locums company, you are responsible for getting your own medical license. You are responsible for filling all that paperwork. You're responsible for, following up on the process of getting your hospital privileges and your medical license and your DEA number and your controlled substance registration. All of that stuff is on you. And as you know, that can be time consuming, it can be expensive, and it can be extremely stressful. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I am saying that it is a huge undertaking, and it is something to really consider. And one of the benefits of working with a locums company is that they have departments of people who do nothing but help physicians get licensed and credentialed, which saves you money, saves you time, and saves you a lot of stress. And usually when you start working with the locums company, they will assign a credentialing analyst to you, and that's going to be the person that's going to walk you through the process. So that's another benefit. Hey, Miss Patricia, how are you? Thank you for joining me. Miss Patricia here, her daughter is one of my best friends. Her daughter is Dr. Kanya Keeling Johnson, who is an amazing colon and rectal surgeon here in Houston, Texas. So, Miss Patricia has a special place in my heart because her daughter is an amazing surgeon. And then Miss Patricia also has a daughter who's a lawyer. So Miss Patricia is an amazing woman who produces children who are overachievers. But like I said, when working with a locums company, they have licensed licensing departments that do nothing but make sure physicians get licensed and credentialed so that your privileges can go through on time. And this is a benefit and a plus to working with locums companies, because I can tell you, even when working with companies, locums companies, and having a credentialing analyst who's emailing you and saying, would you please send X, Y, and Z, and people from the company who are calling the medical board to make sure that your license is being processed, and people who are in touch with the medical staff services at the particular hospital to make sure that your privileges are going to come through, is still a stressful situation. So if you can only imagine what that's like if you have to do all of that on your own while you're currently working. So that is kind of a big deal. And the other thing that you have to consider when you are working directly with a facility as opposed to working with a locums company is travel and lodging. Many facilities will require that you make your own travel arrangements and pay for your own travel arrangements up front, and then they'll reimburse you. And that can be a problem because depending on where you work, the airplane tickets can be quite expensive. You know, if you're gone for any amount of time, the hotel rooms for a week or 2 weeks can be kind of expensive. So you're looking at a situation in which you're going to have to come up with $1,500 or $2,000 up front to go travel to work. And then, you know, you're going to have to wait to get reimbursed that money on the back end. So some people don't have a problem with that, but just so you know that that is an extra expense. It is reimbursable, but you know, most of the times when you are contracting directly with the facility, they do ask that you provide your own travel arrangements, and they will reimburse. But like I said, that's money that you're going to have to come up with upfront out of pocket. Now, when working with a locums company, they take care of all of that for you. Some of them do give you the option of making your own arrangements and putting it on your own credit card so you can get your credit card rewards points. But for the most part, locums companies will provide your travel arrangements for you, your flight, your hotel, your rental car, and there are other travel related fees that may be reimbursable. So you just have to take care of that. You just have to check that out with them. But the great thing about most locums companies is that they have a professional travel department. And this travel department is available 24/7, and they give you a 1-800 number to call. They give you, you know, your reference number to call. So if there's a travel emergency, if there's any kind of flight delays, changes, problems with your hotel rooms, you can call that number and get on the phone with a live agent and get things taken care of. And that is huge, because when you are traveling for work, you are going to have travel snafus, and it is just always so comforting to know that you really do have it's almost like your own personal travel agent, but you really do have a travel agent who is ready to take care of everything. I know I was going to one assignment in West Virginia, and it was right around the time of one of those snowstorms, and so I got stranded in Charlotte, and you know, the lines to the airline counters were so long, and so while I was standing in line, I just went ahead and called the travel agency affiliated with the locums company, and they went ahead and rebooked my flight, booked me a hotel to stay overnight, and just took care of everything. And so, you know, in those situations, it really is worth it to know that you kind of have a safety net. And that's what I kind of think that you can look at your locums company as kind of a safety net. Also for other reasons. They do provide services that are invaluable. And the other thing that I didn't mention in kind of going back to pay and pay rate and pay schedule is that locums companies do offer some protection in terms of scheduling. For the most part, you know, locums companies give either party a 30-day notice in order to cancel, and that does serve to protect both the client and the physician. I've been in situations in which I was the direct hire, working as a locums doctor without the aid of a locums company. And when the facilities didn't need me anymore, they dropped me, took me off of the schedule effective immediately. Sorry, not sorry, we don't need your services anymore, Dr. Freeman. That rarely happens with the locums company, because at least with the locums company, they'll give you a 30-day notice. Say, as of today, the client wants to exercise their 30-day notice, which means that, okay, at least you got 30 days to try to scramble and get something else. But when you are working directly with the facility, and unless your contract says otherwise, they can just take you off the schedule the next day, and then you're kind of up a creek. So there are benefits to working with the locums company. And so therefore, I would highly encourage everybody who is considering doing locums and thinking that they need to avoid working with the locums company because they think that they may be able to get, a higher rate. I want you to realize that that's not necessarily the case, and then that there's so many other things that you get when you're working with a locums company, which includes some protection in terms of cancellation notice. You get some protection in terms of how you get paid and the schedule in which you get paid. I mean, most of them don't send you paper checks. They do a direct deposit, which is always a nice thing. You also have the benefit of having the locums company provide your malpractice insurance. That's universal. That's across the board. When you work as a direct hire without using a locums company, you may or may not have to provide your own malpractice insurance. The other thing is licensing and credentialing. It is very beneficial working with a locums company because they take care of all of that for you. And if you've ever been in a position in which you've ever had to get this on your own or go through the process on your own, it is extremely time consuming and extremely stressful. And the thing is also travel and lodging. Locums companies provide it. If you work with a facility directly as a locums doctor, you'll probably have to provide your own and just wait for them to reimburse you. Now, with all that being said, I do recommend that when you are looking at a locums company that you do address all of these things to make sure that everything is taken care of, everything is to your understanding and your satisfaction. Now, Floyd Lee Locums is a concierge locums company which specializes in providing concierge type services. So that means that they provide competitive rates. It means that they make sure that it's a good fit between the client and the physician. They also make sure they provide malpractice and coverage with a top rated coverage. And, they have a nice, robust travel department. They specialize in concierge services for their physicians. So they're going to make sure that it is a good experience. So I do recommend that you contact Floyd Lee Locums today at www.floydleelocums.com. for any more questions that you have, any more information that you have. And you can always contact me, Dr. Stephanie. You can hit me up on Facebook. You can message me, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about locums. This is Dr. Freeman. This was our Let's Talk Tuesday, sponsored by Floyd Lee Locums. I will see you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining me.